Hello everyone, and welcome back. And today we will be treating a very interesting topic. It's about women in politics. Now, I understand that most people must have heard about this saying that we need more women in politics. In basically most nations of the world, it is hailed that women are needed in politics. That we, just by being women, we need them in politics. We need more women in politics. We need more women representation in politics. You hear things like that. In America, you hear things like that. In Europe, people saying we need to represent women more in the parliaments. We need to represent women more in Congress. You know, now, I'm just going to come out and say this. I am not against women being in politics. At least I'm not against it in principle. I actually want it to happen. But the problem with the movements spurring this thing up, or the movements that are spurring these things on, is that they have the belief that simply because they are women, they have to be in politics. Now, the problem with this is that even though these movements seem to portray themselves and try to claim that they are anti-bigotry against women, the problem is that they end up being, in actuality, against women. Because if you really check the basis of their argument, you are going to realize that their argument seems to be about women not being able to achieve those things on their own, so we need to hand it over to them. So that's the basis of most of those arguments. I'm going to be stating some here. Now, one of the things you will hear is that we need a woman president. You will hear, okay, the next election cycle, we need a woman president, like in the Democratic Party in the United States right now. You will hear people talking about we need a woman president. We don't want an old white man anymore. We need a woman president. And they are not even talking about the merits of the woman they're talking about. They are not talking about whether or not she's able to carry out carry out the job, whether she's competent enough and all those things. It's not so much about that. Usually in those arguments, those qualities are secondary. The primary thing there is about this issue of identity politics. It's about propping women up at the expense of men. It's about making sure that women get to those positions whether or not it brings down men. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what the qualifications of the women are. It does not matter what the qualification of the woman in question is. It simply matters that you want to have a woman in power. And that makes them to feel good about themselves, and that's what they call virtue signaling. So that all the other people around you, all the other people who believe in such progressive ideas are going to feel like, oh, you are so woke, you are so wonderful, you are so enlightened to think that way. So you just want women to go into politics not based on their competence. And I'm not saying women can't be competent in all these things. I mean, I've seen very wonderful, very intelligent women in positions of power, and they have been performing very wonderfully. But the problem is, if all you're saying is that we need to have more women in power simply because they are women, that is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely stupid for anyone to claim that you need women in power simply because they're women. Now, I'm sure they don't come out and say it this way. They don't say simply because they're women. But the way they say it, we need more representation. Like, we need more representation in politics. We need more representation among the governors. We need more women governors. Why do you need more women governors? Yeah, we just need more women governors. They don't state the reasons. They don't. Now, if we have a woman that is more competent than his opponent, which let's say we have a woman now competing for a particular office, and the opponent is a man, and the woman is more intelligent, more skilled for the job than the man, obviously go for the woman. Go for the woman. Because this idea of simply going for the woman, no matter what the skill set may be, is absolute rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. Like I said, one of the assumptions that you have to have in mind for you to just want a blanket admission of women into the workforce or into a particular industry is that you believe that they don't have the ability to get themselves into this industry on their own. That's what you call the soft bigotry of low expectation. So you believe women are not able to do it on their own, so you want to put your hands in the scale and tip the scale in favor of women for them to get into politics or to get into the places of power. Like you see people proposing policies that companies should have more women in their board. That is, companies should have more women in the deciding boards, that is, the boards of decisions, that more women should be there. Women should be in the positions of decision making in industries. It does not matter whether or not these women are fit for the job. We just need these amounts of women to be in the workforce, these amounts of women to be in the decision-making levels of the industry or of the company. So it does not really matter whether they're competent. It does not really matter what the skill sets are. You just need to have representation. You hear things about inclusivity. You need to have more women to be inclusive. Now, again, I am not against women being in the workforce, but the way I see it, a company wants to be as effective as possible. So you would rather have people who are intelligent enough and people who are going to do the job excellently well. And if women in that company are able to do the job excellently well, good for them. And then you are going to find a whole lot of women. In positions of power in such a company because they are just so good at their jobs. An example is in fashion industry. In the fashion industry, you're going to have more women in there in the positions of power. Most models are going to be women. Why? Because they have the natural advantage. Women in general are more attractive than an average man. And that's just the reality. So in such an industry, you are going to have women having an upper hand. You're going to have women more competent at those jobs than an average man. So it's going to be easy for you to see the reason why you would have more women in such an industry. That's an industry where you have women having the competitive advantage over men. But in some other industry, like in construction industry, it would be absolutely insane for you to say you want women to be equally represented in such an industry. That would be absolutely absurd because it's such a very dangerous industry, such a very dangerous job description. And generally speaking, women don't sign up for such jobs. It's not about people keeping them out. It's not the patriarchy keeping women out. It's about the fact that women, generally speaking, are not interested in those jobs. And another thing is that women just don't have the physical advantage in those jobs. You're going to have men being more advantaged in getting such jobs because it's just biology. Men are different from women, and that's just the reality. Everyone has their own strength and everyone has their own weaknesses. Men have some strengths and weaknesses. Women also have some strengths and weaknesses. So blanketly saying, just saying as a blanket statement that we have to get more women in a particular industry or in a particular sector is absolute baloney. That's my point. And then also, like I said, it abandons merit. And when you keep doing all these things, getting women into jobs, getting women jobs simply because they're women and all of that, you are erasing the competence of women that are actually competent to do the job. Consider the case of the military. In the military, if there are women that are able to go through the same trainings as men and were able to pass those trainings, you would be erasing the accomplishments of those women if you just lump in a whole lot of other women who are not able to accomplish that, and by lowering the standards for women. So the extraordinary abilities of those outstanding women that got in or that would have got in if they had been exposed to the same training as men. You are erasing that. You are erasing that ability. You are erasing that skill set that those people have. You are erasing them. You are erasing their accomplishments by swamping the whole environment with every woman you can get, and calling out for inclusivity, and representation. It's absolute nonsense. So that's my thoughts on that. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that. You can just comment below, and see you guys next time.